think that so many of us can relate to Whiplash because it asks us to balance two proportionalities that we'd really like to live the rest of our lives without ever reconciling. The first of those is obvious. The harder that you try, the more likely you are to find a euphoric success. And the second is intuitive. The harder that you try, the more painful your failure. And together they paint a disturbing picture. If you want to succeed, you have to put yourself at risk for a humiliating defeat. If you give up early, you can cut your losses and move on with your life, but you'll always wonder if you could have been more. This film has its lead go from elation to humiliation, confident and commanding to depressed and hopeless. It's psychological whiplash, and it's the furthest thing from fun. Success seems so close, and yet it's pulled further away the more that he moves toward it. He's tantalized with hope, only to find that those hopes don't pay off like he expects. Andrew Neiman is an excellent drummer. He's had a talent since he was young, but it's his practice and perseverance that got him admitted to the Schaefer Conservatory, the best music school in the country. And these questions, I'd reckon, he's never had to address before now. Andrew lives and breathes jazz. He doesn't have a lot of friends, or, well, any friends, but that's by choice more than the demanding nature of his practice. Andrew loves to drum. It's what he wants to do. And he presumably spends a whole lot of his free time practicing. It's something he's great at. It's something that he enjoys doing. And you can see that in the way that he loses himself in the sound of his own music. It feels good to play, and he plays best when he's lost in it. Or at least, so he thinks. The opening scene features Terrence Fletcher, the most respected conductor at the Schaefer Conservatory, emerging from the shadows to test this unsuspecting freshman. Andrew plays on cue, but when Schaefer asks for a double-time swing, he just can't keep up. Fletcher slams the door without saying a word, and like that, it looks like Andrew's lost his chance to wow someone that he respects. It's a failure, but a small one. Andrew wasn't good enough to impress Fletcher today, but that doesn't mean that he can't impress him tomorrow. And then, he goes to the movies with his dad and tells him what happened.
And? Well, you got plenty of options still.
And you see that? Andrew's dad has already accepted his son's opportunity to impress Fletcher has come and gone. He takes that failure as final. But come on, this is a speed bump, not a brick wall. Andrew decides if his double-time swing wasn't good enough to impress Fletcher, then that's what he'd have to practice. This isn't fun. Andrew gets sweaty and tired. It's disheartening to listen to Buddy Rich outpace him so handily. But he keeps trying, and he gets his chance to show Fletcher that he's improved.
Behind. Same thing. Drums with me.
And that wasn't so hard. With just a little bit more work, he was able to get himself into the class that he wanted. Fletcher gives him a time, a place, and unwittingly the confidence to ask that girl out at the movie theater. Andrew's made it, right? Well, remember what I said about being tantalized by hope. Andrew's got a long way to go, and for as good as he feels in this moment, drumming isn't going to sustain that. Fletcher's approval gave him confidence, and Fletcher's disapproval will take it away. And that starts the next day. Fletcher deliberately tells Andrew to show up for studio 3 hours before it begins, and he kicks things off by mispronouncing Andrew Neiman's last name.
Neiman, 19 years old, isn't he cute?
Does Andrew correct him? Well, let me answer that with another question. What does Andrew's dad do when some guy in the theater accidentally shoves him?
Sorry.
He apologizes. He takes it. Andrew might as well change his name because people are going to mispronounce it for the rest of the film. Although this might sound counterintuitive, that's exactly the kind of person that Fletcher is looking for. Someone so subservient to his demands that he can change their father's surname without so much as a but. Fletcher is not looking for someone with raw talent. He's looking for someone that will not quit until they've met his expectations. In Andrew's first day of studio band, Fletcher befriends him on a personal level. Andrew tells him about his father, a high school English teacher and an aspiring writer, and his mother, who left them both when he was young. Fantastic. That's everything that Fletcher's gonna need to motivate his latest unsuspecting victim. Fletcher showers this kid with positive reinforcement. It makes him feel like he deserves to be there. It makes the rest of the studio resent him for thinking that he's better than any of them. And then, Fletcher destroys him.
Little trouble there.
He identifies a weakness and strikes, because if weakness isn't something that you can kill, you are weakness. And everyone has weakness. Fletcher drills into these kids with precision. And for Andrew, he knows exactly where to hit.
I'm here for a reason.
So you think that you're special. Fletcher goes after his skill. He makes Andrew doubt in his own ability, and Fletcher gives him ample opportunity to correct.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
He goes after his knowledge. After throwing out another student for not realizing whether they were on or off pitch, he accuses Andrew of not knowing the difference between rushing and dragging.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
He demands him to make a choice. If you don't care about this, then none of this will bother you.
No, so you just don't give a shit about any of this?
I do give a shit about this.
Are you upset? Yes or fucking no?
But if you do care, then say it.
I'm upset.
Say it so the whole band can hear you.
He degrades him in front of the class after building him up in the scenes prior.
I'm upset.
He demands that Andrew say it louder.
I'm upset. Louder!
Admit that you care. Admit that you tried and failed. Admit that you're not happy about it.
I'm upset!
And then he hits home. Your father is a failure of a writer who couldn't even convince your mother to stay because he didn't care, but you do. Say it louder.
I'm upset!
Carl. Start practicing harder, Neiman.
Whiplash, bar 125, big boy tempo, 5, 6, and.
And that's what failure feels like. You dared to invest yourself into something, and even though you tried, it wasn't enough. This is why people quit. This is why people don't try in the first place. For as much as this film centers around the abusive relationship between a teacher and a student, it's also about the relationship in that student's life that drives him to put up with that abuse. Because opposite of Fletcher, the man who would stop at nothing to create a great jazz musician, is Andrew's dad, the man who encourages Andrew not to get his hopes up for the fear of the disappointment that comes with failure. If Andrew is to try, then he must do so without the expectation that anything will come of it. He seems like a supportive enough guy, but he cannot imagine more success for Andrew than he can for his own writing. Fletcher, Andrew, and Andrew's dad are all defined by their ambitions. Fletcher cares so much about creating the next great jazz artist that he's willing to continue the abuse even after he knows that that is what caused his former student and a core sax player at Lincoln Center to take their own life. Sean Casey died because Fletcher wanted to bring out the best musician in him. And despite graduating and achieving the highest level of career success in this business, he still killed himself. Fletcher knows that he's responsible for Sean's suicide, and I think he's earnestly hurt by it. Unfortunately, it's for all the wrong reasons. He doesn't mourn the life now lost to Sean's family and friends. He mourns the cost that comes with creating great musicians. When he's made aware in this phone call, he doesn't look at Andrew because he wants to hide his own weakness, which is why all he can do in this moment is to tell Andrew to go earn the part.
If you want the fucking part, earn it.
The next day, Fletcher attributes Sean's death to a car accident. He lies because he knows that his death was the consequence of pushing Sean to the brink. A suicide would discourage the class, because a suicide means that someone who was successful found that it wasn't worth the abuse he was put through. Fletcher believes that these kids can be great if they're scared enough and angry enough to put themselves through hell. And as far as he's concerned, a few suicides are worth it so long as everyone is pushed to be the best that they can possibly be. For Fletcher, you try until it kills you. And conversely, Andrew's dad believes so little in himself and his son that he questions the value of trying in the first place. And I think that Andrew resents his dad for that. At this family dinner, everyone gets so uppity about the success Andrew's cousins are finding in Division III football, while brushing aside his achievement as the youngest member of the top studio band at the best school in the nation.
Well, I'm so glad you figured it out. It's a nasty business, I am sure. Oh, hey, are you going to tell them about your game this week, huh?
Look, Frank, there's only 1,700 players in the NFL, and you want to give Andrew the hard time for his career choice? So Andrew stands up for himself. Yeah, his cousins are good at football, but he is a great drummer.
It's Division III.
I got a reply for you, Andrew. You think Carleton football's a joke? Come play with us.
4 words you will never hear from the NFL.
And from Lincoln Center?
Andrew's a jerk in this scene. Heck, he's a jerk in the whole movie. But it's his dad's comment that makes him get up and leave. Fletcher could scream in Andrew's face until all the oxygen in the room cycled through his breath. But that casual dismissal of Andrew's ambition, that's more humiliating than any chair that Fletcher could throw at him.
And his opinion means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Andrew's not just after Fletcher's respect. He's after his own father's. So when he plays until his fingers bleed, when he gets so angry he punches his fist through his drum, why does he keep playing?
No, so you just don't give a shit about any of this?
I do give a
So,
shit about this.
are you upset? Yes or fucking no?
Call 911, guys. Okay, just a couple more blocks. No, sir, you don't have to go anywhere. Sir, get off me. No, you don't have to.
When he sprints furiously to the music hall to play the part that he earned, he finds that he's so damaged by the whiplash that he can't play. And right here is the brick wall.
You're done.
Andrew tried. He compromised nothing in his pursuit to be the best drummer that he could possibly be. And he failed. All of this was for nothing. And a father is vindicated. All that energy on drumming only got Andrew hurt. An uncompromising ambition compromised Andrew's health. He broke up with his girlfriend for the drums. He beat up his body for the kit. He gave up his love for performing in order to be a great performer. And he's expelled from Schaefer in return. He takes his inspirations off the wall, he throws his happy memories in the garbage, and he presses charges on the only person in his life that ever believed in him.
Just tell me what to say.
But Whiplash doesn't end here. Months later, Andrew runs into Fletcher playing piano at a bar. He seems to be content just playing, but that jovial smile sinks away as soon as he spots Andrew.
Truth is, I don't think people understood what it was I was doing at Schaefer. I wasn't there to conduct. Any fucking moron can wave his arms and keep people in tempo. I was there to push people beyond what's expected of them. I believe that is an absolute necessity.
When you lack expectations for yourself, it's easy to live a life in which you are content. Fletcher isn't straining himself on the piano. He can just play. If you want to be happy, lower your expectations.
But that's just what the world wants now. People wonder why jazz is dying.
But if you want to be successful, elevate those expectations and suffer in your effort to rise and meet them. You don't stumble into greatness. You give up everything for it.
There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
The reward for your efforts is not the approval of the masses. At no point will you get to rest. Your reward is to continue to challenge and push yourself with greater expectations until it kills you, just like it killed Sean Casey. And that is why Fletcher is a monster, because he sees no room for anything else in life beyond a goalpost that has moved further and further the closer that you get. Not friends, not family, not romance. Those people are better off talking about you over dinner than they are knowing you sitting across from them. Andrew's anonymous testimony took Fletcher out of the role where he could set the highest expectations for his students, and he deeply hates Andrew for that. When he invites Andrew to perform at JVC, he is giving him one final lesson. This invitation sets Andrew up to believe that all the hard work that he's already done has landed him a position on a professional jazz band. He doesn't need to set his expectations higher. He can be content performing at this level with what he's got. But by inviting Andrew to perform in front of a whole lot of bigwigs in the music industry and giving him the wrong set list, he all but ensures Andrew will never have a career as a musician. Fletcher's final lesson is, you don't get to be happy or successful without trying. And when the going gets tough, you don't run to daddy and blame the guy who pushed you because they believed in you. Fletcher intends to wipe Andrew out with this performance, and going by the first set, it looks like he does. And again, his father is vindicated. But Andrew knows the life that he's going back to. A life without expectations, without effort. A life in which he doesn't have to really try. And maybe that's comfortable. But it also comes without hope. This is all you can ever be. But Andrew does not want to be like his father. He sees value in believing in himself. So this time he goes out on stage, not looking for his father's approval or Fletcher's. He goes out there and plays. He defines his own expectations.
And he steps up on that stage and he plays the best motherfucking solo the world has ever heard.
For this entire film, Andrew's been motivated to prove his father wrong by meeting Fletcher's unreasonably high expectations. But it's here when Andrew sets his own. He doesn't look to his father to believe in him, nor to Fletcher for approval. He walks out there to play the part that he earned, motivated not by fear or insecurity, but by belief in himself that he can play the part better than anyone in the world. And that's inspiring, but I admit it's also terrifying. Because when Andrew fails in this scene, he doesn't come back on stage with the intention of salvaging his career. He is given absolutely no reason to believe that he can undo what just happened. He redefines success to mean giving the best performance that he can possibly give. Rather than driving himself through the fear of humiliation, disapproval, and disappointment of those that he respects, the greatest humiliation is redefined as not trying in the first place. He doesn't need Fletcher anymore, because he's going to continue to brutalize himself in his own never-ending effort to improve. If you ask director Damien Chazelle, Andrew's fate is the same as Sean Casey's and Charlie Parker's.
Dying broke and drunk and full of heroin at the age of 34 is not exactly my idea of success.
Andrew may become one of the greats, but in doing so lead the unfulfilling life Fletcher wishes for his greatest students. I love this film, but I can't deny the lack of reconciliation that comes with the debate that I see between never giving up and never trying in the first place. Through the film, Andrew takes the external negative reinforcement in his life and internalizes it to make him a better jazz musician. And the tragedy here is, I don't think that Andrew believes in himself enough to let himself fail for anything or anyone else. Even without Fletcher in his life, I still believe that he would climb out of this car with every intention of sprinting to the music hall. And I know that that's a line. So how do I balance those two relationships? I think that you have to believe in yourself enough to keep trying after you fail. And you have to believe enough to allow yourself to fail when the circumstances have made trying unhealthy. Good luck, and thanks for watching.